Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. How are you today? You're back at the spot, the place where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Today we're going to talk to Nikki Cruise in Texas. Yes, by way of South Africa. That's where she was born and raised, and then she moved to Zimbabwe. Did you move to Zimbabwe, or that's where you did your TED Talk?
That's where I did my TEDx talk, but we moved to California for a number of years.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
living in South Africa, California. I'm now in Texas.
And she is a woman that really wants us to deep dive into our faith, to know that we do walk by faith and not by sight, to be kind and conscientious. She has a great group, and we're going to talk about a joy journey. She's going to read us an excerpt. Got rocks in my mouth, sorry, brains. An excerpt from an anthology. She had an amazing TED Talk that we all want you guys to go in and click on and watch, and a whole lot more. Let's welcome her to the show. How you doing, Nikki?
Awesome, joyful, and excited. Thank you
Oh,
so much for having me here. You always bring so much joy. When I watch your podcast, I see your smile. I see no matter what you're talking about, there's a joy.
well, thank you so much, and I appreciate that, because you know what? I love each and every one of the people that listen, as well as the people that have participated, because I feel so much smarter. I feel so much more connected, and I'm able to share that information and that wisdom. But you know what I'm liking right now is that necklace. That is boss. Is that turquoise you got on there? What is that? That
It,
is gorgeous.
it is. It's turquoise stones in a little setting, and it's a starburst because we all get to shine. So,
Absolutely. And there's a lot of energy in turquoise, a lot of grounding energy. So tell my brains a little bit about you and how you show up in the world.
well, my name is Nikki Cruise, and I'm often known as the joy junkie because I have this incredible joy that I just want to slosh on everybody. People so often feel like they've lost their joy. And you can't lose your joy, but sometimes life just squishes it in and dents it a bit like trash compactor. And we get to learn to re-explode it into our lives, not just for ourselves, but for the people around us. And when we tap into our joy, there's so much healing in it. It heals our spirit, it heals our minds, it heals our bodies. And that is a scientific fact. So I love people to have this incredible amount of joy by tapping into who they are, into their self belief. So I show up enthusiastically, passionately, recognizing people's values, sloshing joy on everything. Sometimes I drive people a little nuts. My co-host you see here is Jibber.
Oh,
And Jibber is always around with me because when life isn't going great, I get to grab Jibber and shake him madly. And I just get to refocus. I pause for a moment, I laugh, I take the stress out of the moment, and I can refocus and find my joy again. So if you're wondering what this crazy guy was in the background, it's Jibber Joy.
well, gibber joy is a joy. Joy is very subjective. Joy is defined very individually. You know, some people find joy in solitude. Some people find joy in family. Some people find joy um, in existential things, art, music. But what is joy?
Joy, and most people think joy and happiness are the same thing. Joy and happiness are so different.
Mm,
Happiness is something you feel in a moment. Joy is a deep-seated belief that there is positive, something positive to come. Joy is knowing there is a hope and a future. So whatever you find joy in, it's because it's stirring confidence inside. Now, I always say I'm a Jesus freak. And I will tell you that in the Bible it says, the joy of the Lord is our strength. And it is, because joy is that solid knowing, it's a solid foundation that you can keep moving on. You don't have to be a Jesus freak or believe what I believe to find joy. You have to believe in a hope and a future. I reckon it's easier with Jesus, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. You have to have somewhere to offboard it because you can't do it alone. And we do live, I tell people all the time, you live by faith and not by sight. And it's all right to be a Jesus freak, you know. Uh, there's a whole lot of other things that's going on in the world that are freaky and they're
Yes.
not godly like. So I get it. Joy to me is a peace, it's a solitude, it's a comfort, it's a settling in. It is, and whatever it is, that could be a joyful meal, that could be intimacy with my partner, that could be gardening or working with children. It's how you feel in that moment. But you're very right when you talk about happiness. Happiness is a temporary condition. It's a high that you're always chasing, brains. What's the next new shiny object that's going to make me happy? Is it a car? Is it a new purse? Is it going on a trip? What is that quick fix that's going to fire those endorphins that make you happy? But joy is constant. It's still. It is easy. You don't have to do a lot with it. It's like people talk about mindset mastery. I think people get stuck in a mindset. I want you to be consistent. I want you to be conscientious of what's happening right now because that's all that you have is right now. 15 minutes from now, somebody's going to pass away. 15 minutes from now, somebody's going to be born. 15 minutes from now, somebody's going to have a meltdown. 15 minutes from now, somebody's going to find joy. So you have to figure out where you are in this and realize what condition you're in at that time. Now, Joy, how did you get involved in a TED Talk and also an anthology?
Well, I will be sharing a little bit of my anthology, my part in the anthology, and that's how I got involved in the TED Talk. Because with my desire to share joy and help other people have joy, see people transform, and with joy being something that transcends circumstances, I help women find joy regardless of their circumstances by finding their value.
Mm,
And that's the powerful story I brought through at my TED Talk in Zimbabwe. But it started because I was in a wheelchair for 11 years. I was told I would never walk again.
mm.
Well, I'm walking. I'm
What?
walking.
What? You
And
got a testimony.
I didn't always have the joy. I had a lot of faith. But the minute that doctor said to me, "You'll never walk again," my joy was gone. And you'll hear about it in my story that I'll share. But I had to choose joy. I had to choose to see beyond my circumstances. And I think that's a concept that's foreign to so many of us, where we live in a world that throws out judgment, throws out labels. And I recently had this epiphany that the world doesn't stick those labels on us. The world puts those labels out there. We're the ones who let them stick
Mm,
because
mm,
we
mm.
don't recognize our value. So when we start to look at what is our purpose, what is our worth to the world, how can we serve the world? We become that serves us ourselves. And it is a bit about mindset. However, there are so many people out there saying, okay, I've got to change my mindset. Got to have a good mindset. I have to do 50 affirmations a day. If you're just speaking them and it's not coming from the heart, from the place where you look to grow your joy, you can say you're happy all day. You can say you've got joy every day and nothing will change.
Right.
Joy is a state of mind and a state of heart.
It is.
So, being impacted by this, I started sharing this story, met an amazing woman who was actually the author of the anthology I'm going to share from. And she invited me to speak at a thought leaders talk. And
Wow.
I spoke there, and she said, I would like to promote you to speak at a TEDx talk in Zimbabwe. And this all happened in a space of months.
Wow.
So, quite
See,
an honor and privilege.
what brings and gratitude, you know,
Yes.
gratitude. Folks are so ungrateful. I was talking to a friend of mine today, and they're going through some things, and two parents divorced the kids. They got the kids in the middle, but they're not teaching the kids to be grateful. Either one of them. Neither
Yes.
one of them is saying, one wants to posture and pontificate, the other one wants to rule with an iron fist. And these children are really the individuals that are suffering because they don't know that. And another thing, parents these days are not teaching a faith based doctrine, whoever it is, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Kermit the Frog. They're not teaching them to know that there is something higher, greater that resonates than themselves. They're not even making the introduction, Nikki.
And it leaves this void because
Right,
there's everybody knows there is something outside of us that influences our desires, influences our seeking out. That's why people are always spiritually seeking. And when there's this void left, I believe that's when people turn to drugs, people turn to alcohol, but they're filling that void. And if we could just pause when we're having a problem, we could stop, find the gratitude for what we do have, and then see where it links and where it feeds us. And that's where that spiritual desire starts becoming
right.
connected to what you find. And you mentioned gratitude just now. I've just finished writing an amazing ebook for the power of the pause. It's
Mm-hmm.
in the pause when
Right,
everything's going crazy.
right,
You pause and you look at what you have to be grateful for.
right.
I believe that was the start of my healing.
But
And
that's
you're
what I say about COVID. People look at it as, yeah, but it was the perfect pause. The entire world, the entire globe, not just Texas, not San Diego, not Italy, not France. The entire world had to stop,
yeah,
take stock, take a breath, take medication, not take medication, do some soul searching, do introspective work with your family. It was the perfect pause. It was an opportunity for you to reset. The pause is so important. Before you say something ugly to somebody, I do that. Sometimes I just customer service. I'm on the customer service for 20 minutes. And as soon as the person gets on the phone, I want to attack them. But then I say, you know what? It's not their fault. Take a breath, you know, and apologize. If you've done something that's out of character, say, I'm sorry. But only say you're sorry if you mean it.
yes.
And if you're going to make corrective action, we all make mistakes. But this is no mistake. This anthology, tell us a little bit about the book and give us a beautiful excerpt and a reading.
Well, thank you. This anthology was, I always say, it was bound by this amazing woman who has a huge influence in my life. Her name is Elena Fernandez. And this is the first of four that she put out. And it's made up of 31 short stories by different people overcoming adversity. And every one of these stories then is followed by a journal page so that everybody who reads it can actually learn from somebody else's experience of overcoming.
Mm,
And this is the first time that I had spoken on a stage and shared my story once before, but this is the first time that I actually got to publish my story. And it's titled Feeling Worthless to Finding Joy. The book itself is called The Gifts of Pain, because pain produces growth, and produces gifts for others. I stared out the car window on the way home from the neurologist's office, questioning how I could do or be anything stuck in this wheelchair forever. For 11 years, I had dreamt of walking again. The neurologist's office still echoed in my mind. You will never walk again.
Oh,
I was crushed. It was the start of 2021, but it felt like the end of my life. Couldn't dress myself, feed myself, or even hold a cell phone. But what was really crippling me was feeling hopeless and worthless. As the weeks went on, I realized that the words the doctor spoke over me did not change my situation or change who I was as a person. And I gradually began to celebrate who I was and see beyond the circumstances. I decided to be the best version of myself, whether I was walking or in a wheelchair. And I suddenly saw my unique value, my actual worth, regardless of what labels others put on me. Then I began to bring my value forward and to find joy in the little things I could do. I saw how contagious that joy was and felt empowered as I saw that sharing the freedom from my limiting circumstances released others from theirs and the labels and boxes society had placed on them. Now, I coach other women to see their value and impact their world, to find joy and freedom in choosing to believe in their own unique gifts, skills, and values, and share them regardless of what seems to hold them back. I invite you to look at yourself from a different perspective, without the judgment or labels of the world, to see all the good parts of who you are and what you can do. Find a place that needs what you have and celebrate in sharing that.
because you matter.
You matter, and everybody matters. And when we get to look up and see beyond our circumstances, we realize that we have something that if we don't bring forward, the world will miss out on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And take advantage of. Now, sometimes I get this. I had a friend, I've had several friends um, outside of you guys' brains that was such a Debbie Downer that would just suck the oxygen right out of the room. I couldn't do it anymore because it no longer brought me joy, and it is a duality. You have to extract the things in your life that no longer serve you. And that
Yes,
doesn't mean that that person that you've offboard or that situation is bad, but it just does not fit in alignment with your soul purpose. It does not bring you the highest and greatest good. It does not raise your frequency, and that's what I need. I need a charge. I need a charge. And I'm good at listening. I don't try to give advice because I'm not the smartest knife, the sharpest knife in the drawer. However, I give suggestions or I offer thought. This is something that you to consider. But I'm only going to do that a couple times because after that, then it's draining and you become toxic. And so you have to understand what is it that brings you joy. I'm going to put a challenge out there. Everybody that's listening to this interview all over the world, I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and I want you to write just 5 things that bring you joy. I don't care if it's ice cream, a new car, you know. Matter of fact, I'm going to make it even more challenging. Don't make it anything that's tangible. I don't want a car. I don't want a purse. I don't want a trip. I want you to do some soul searching. I want you to go deep. What is it that really brings you joy? Sometimes tears will bring you joy. because it's a release. Is it clapping of your hands? Is it a good song that you hear? Is it a great Bible verse? Do that. Paying it forward brings me joy. That is one of, I got in trouble with Mr. Magnificent, my husband of 41 years. He said to me, he said, baby, you need to go over there and sit down and quit asking for stuff. He doesn't talk to me that way. He gives me everything I want. I wasn't trying to be ungrateful. And he gave me a laundry list of all the things that I had just came from vacation, shopping. I could go in there and have anything from a tuna fish sandwich to filet mignon. And my feelings was kind of hurt. So what do? I go get a facial, more spoiledness. When I come out though, Nikki, there's a girl laying on the sidewalk. It was hot that day. She had the prettiest face, but her feet looked like copper and coal. And she was just shriveled up. I went down in my purse. I gave her every dime I had. Bet you it's about $300 in my purse. And she jumped up and she shouted and she praised his name. She cried. She told me, she says, I can now take a shower. I can get something to eat and I can go see my baby. You don't know what that did to me. When I got back home, I went and sat in the corner. He said, what you doing sitting over there? I said, I'm taking my punishment. He said, why? I said, because I was ungrateful. I was ungrateful. Gratitude is latitude that will raise your attitude. It'll take you to the zenith point. It will. And joy, that's why so many people say make a joyful noise. Regurgitate it, sing it, speak it. If you do that, even praise it in your adversarial time. When Nikki found out that she wasn't going to walk again, what did she do? She found her joy and praised the Lord. And look at her today. Because you're being watched and you're being judged. Maybe not by the person sitting next to you, but definitely something above you. Something above you. This has just been so wonderful, and it's just been so sweet and kind and easy. And that's what I like. You don't have to do a whole lot of rethinking. You don't have to look at mainstream media. What do you think and say to people that are just embedded in what's going on in the world? How would you suggest that they extract themselves to distract themselves?
I'll tell you, first thing is, why are you getting so involved in things that don't serve you? Does it make you feel good? If you feel like you need to know what's going on, that's one thing. But what happens is, I believe people then create their own internal rhetoric. They make opinions, judgments, and decisions. And that brings a lot of fear. It brings a lot of angst. And take a step back and have a look and say, what can I actually change about this? Because if you can't change anything, why sap all your energy, all your joy into something you cannot do anything about? If you can do something about it, think of the joy being able to do that. But don't let it stop there. Take some positive action that is going to positively impact somebody else, because you get to stop looking at yourself and you get to start looking outwards also at how your misery is affecting others. It doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve your relationships, and it doesn't serve them. So switch it up. Look at how you can serve people, changing attitude to the world. There's so much doom and gloom speaking out there. Stop. Look at all the good things. Stop.
They can't see the forest for the tree.
Instead of being in fear for what you're not going to have, be grateful for what you do have. And I just want to add briefly here, I sat in my wheelchair angry with God, saying, you said I would be something. And eventually I said, God, no more. And I realized by looking at what I could do, and at that point, all I could do was pretty much smile. And I realized that smile brought encouragement. So I was grateful that I could smile. that gratitude left to more and more and more. Gratitude brings the joy.
ma'am.
Appreciating what you do have, not what you don't. So if
Right.
you're looking at the world and feeling like this is chaotic and crazy, stop. Look at what's beautiful. Look at what's good. Look at what one act of kindness could bring, which you won't do if you're sitting grumbling in the corner.
Because nobody wants to be around you. And being ugly makes you have wrinkles.
Yes, yes.
Let's ask you some fun questions. This has been just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. When you get to heaven, what do you want to say to God?
Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you, not just for turning my life around and healing me, but thank you for trusting me with the message you gave me to give other people and empowering me to bring it forward.
If you could have a conversation with a 25-year-old Nikki Cruise, what would you say to her?
Don't hold back, believe in yourself and go boldly forward. Stop around in disbelief.
What else is on your life list? What else do you want to accomplish, see, or do?
Oh, so much. But one of my first things I want to do, I want to build a well in Uganda. We have a ministry in Uganda, and I want to build a well in that community that services the whole community, that they don't have to walk miles to the river to get water. That's my one thing outward. My one thing inward, I want a permanent housekeeper so that I can flit around, travel more, and do the things I want to do.
Oh, I tell you, that's, yeah, I know. It's a first world problem. And yes, we are spoiled, but that comes from being grateful. You get benefits. I know my housekeeper didn't come this month. And I had to go in there and clean the shower and clean the oven. And oh my God, I turned inside out. But you know what? I thought about it. I have a shower and I have an oven. So
Exactly.
I just took my time and went on and cleaned it and did what I had to do. If you were an appliance in the kitchen, Nikki, what appliance would you be?
It would be a stove because a stove takes loose ingredients, pulls them together to have the perfect meal. It's a transformation that happens in or on your stove to come out with a great and varied outcome.
I'd be the garbage disposal
Right.
because I want to grind up and get rid of the things that no longer serve. Get rid of the waste. Absolutely. If you were an animal, what animal would you be and why?
I would be a kudu, and a kudu is a South African buck. It's Kudu.
A kudu. I never heard of a kudu.
And the reason why is because a kudu has these big spiral horns that go up. It's about the size of a horse with a long neck, and it is so elegant and regal.
Hmm.
And when you see a kudu, they just stand there gracefully, and you don't realize or attribute to them that they have a powerful role in the ecosystem, just like any other animal. But people recognize the lion's role. People recognize the monkey's role. Maybe I would be a monkey at times. I don't know. But the grace and presence of a kudu when you see it walking and it walks like this,
Mm-hmm.
it's absolutely beautiful.
I'm gonna Google that because I didn't know what a kudu was. You told me that you lived in South Africa. You were born and raised there, and you were there during the release of Nelson Mandela. How did that make you feel as a white woman growing up in apartheid, seeing the opposition on both sides, but also seeing the harmony and the blessing of this man being released after being imprisoned for so long, and the joy?
It, it was a tumultuous time, and unlike a lot of South African white women my age there, I already had a less typical view. And I saw the need for equality. I saw the need for these people not just to be educated on both sides, because it was both sides who were so narrow-minded. These people needed to get together and live in harmony. And it was also a very fearful time because everybody was taking things into their own. But what brought me the hope and the joy was seeing justice done. Now, I don't believe justice could ever have been given to Nelson Mandela. What was taken from him could not be repaid. However, seeing a change so that we could step into something new. And we had prayer meetings for months before that. But when I grew up in South Africa, there was no crossover in normal white communities and Black communities. I was in a church and we did go into Soweto and meet with the other churches. It wasn't necessarily safe, but I had a bit more insight into people that nobody else had ever met or understood. So I had less of the fear and I saw the opportunity here. But yes, it was a fearful time, but it was the hope of what was to come was so powerful.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And again, what is yet to come? And in closing, what would you say to a person that may really never walk again? But how would you encourage them to find joy?
Then each of us has a purpose. And just like I learned when I was in that place being so angry, what was really crippling me was not my physical condition. It was my mental condition. It was believing that I was worthless and I was hopeless. So if you are somebody who will never walk again, know that you aren't your legs. You aren't your condition. There is so much more to you in that. There is a personality, a character, a smile, and there is an incredible mind. And you have something wonderful to bring to the world. It may not look the way you've expected it to, but press in to what you're passionate about and see how you can do that despite your situation. And have hope because you will inspire so many people when you step into that belief, especially with your constraints and limitations.
You can still fly. If it's only in the atmosphere of your mind, you can still soar. How to get in contact with you and how to purchase a copy of the anthology and follow you online.
Absolutely. And hey, I took a page out of your book.
Look at that. Oh, is that beautiful? Wait a minute. Hold on. Full picture there. Let me see there. Let me see that. Read it for me.
It's Joy Inspired Nikki Cruise. It's got my Facebook address on, which is facebook.com/Nikki.cruise.7. My email is cruisebusiness@aol.com. And I have another one, but this one's easier to remember. My LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram are, surprise, surprise, at Nikki Joy Inspired.
Wow.
The easiest place to find me is on Facebook. Feel free to message me. And that is where you can ask me for a link to my book, because at the moment, I have a number of bundles going on. I've got another one coming out. So please do. The Gift of Pain can be bought on Amazon as well. And there are 4 different versions. My story's only in the first one. And I encourage you, buy this book also as a gift to somebody else struggling, because it does have all this 30, it's like a monthly journal, a place to write. So, but before we jump off, April, yes, I want to thank you so much for giving me a space to share my joy. I hope I didn't throw us. Thank you so much for
Thank
making this space where I could share joy and inspiration. The other place I would like people to go and follow me is the Joy Inspired podcast. It's new. It's just recently, I hit 100 downloads
Oh,
earlier this week. So
wonderful, wonderful.
I would love you to go and watch there.
We're definitely going to do it. Brains, we love you from the bottom of our socks because our heart is just not deep enough. Go in, love, like, share, and subscribe. Listen to the podcast. Okay? That's an independent news source of joy and love, not mayhem and chaos and disruption and dysfunction. You don't need that. We got too much of that. You want to distract that. You want to stay away from the distractions. So thank you so much, Nikki, for being here on The Edge. We appreciate you, we value you, and we love you. Now, is that a something that you purchased? Is it something that you made? What is that?
This is a guy who I saw when we first got to the States, and they've since been discontinued.
Hmm,
So I am considering recreating this because it really is good. Because when you laugh at it, your serotonin levels raise, which increases your joy, which brings healing to your body.
that's
So
right. And that's what we want. Thank you so much. Brains, we love you.